Musk's PAC offered $100. That's good money for people to do something to Wisconsin voters in a pitch against activist judges. April 1st, there's an election for the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and Musk is flooding the race to get the conservative judge to win. The win will determine the tilt of an ideological divide that bench is there in a swing state where state level decisions. Liberal judge in the race has raised millions in her own right as people are donating against Elon Musk. So he has a ton of money, but he's also a lightning rod and helping the opposition raise money. Not surprising. New York Times with the headline. Judge Susan Crawford's war chest, including $17 million raised in the period from February 4th to March 17th alone, approaches that ordinarily expected of a candidate for governor and surpasses those of other recent candidates for statewide office in Wisconsin. Judge Crawford's fundraising total approaching the amount spent by the state's last Republican nominee for governor, Tim Michels, whose campaign spent $28.5 million during his 2022 loss to Governor Tony Evers, a Democrat. Michels, a construction magnate, spent more than $8 million of his own funds on that race, meaning Judge Crawford has now raised more herself than any non-federal candidate in the state's history, except for Mr. Evers. Judge Crawford faces Brad Schimmel, conservative judge who received Mr. Trump's endorsement on Friday night. That would be enough for me. If you haven't made up your mind yet and you're not dialed into this race, as soon as you hear about the endorsement, woo, I know what I'm going to do. He received Mr. Trump's endorsement Friday night, being aided by millions of dollars as well, spending from super PACs affiliated with Elon Musk. In a statement, Judge Crawford accused Mr. Musk of trying to buy influence over the Wisconsin judiciary by getting Brad Schimmel elected to the Supreme Court. She also expressed gratitude for what she called a historic outpouring of grassroots support across Wisconsin. Well, yeah, he's trying to buy. That's how he became co-president. So that's no surprise. Can everyday people pool their money together in Wisconsin, such an important swing state, and say, no, billionaire bully, Tesla stock dropping, you're not going to do it here?
I think that I've been pretty encouraged to see stuff like this about people not just pooling their resources together, but people clearly not being pleased with what the Trump administration is doing, and not just the Trump administration, but it seems that millions of people across the country are just tired of the way things have been going in general. Whether it's the Trump administration, the Biden administration, really since the Clinton era, people are ready for a change. A lot of, as I've been pointing out, a lot of people, like Chuck Schumer, this is going to be his last term. The people who are in their mid to late 70s, early 80s, their time's up. So some of them may run again, but a lot of them just flat out aren't running again because they're so old. So there's so much opportunity for the Democratic Party, and I'm sure as you've seen stuff about the Tea Party, or if they're calling it that, growing in the Democratic establishment. So I think that there's a lot of reason for us all to be hopeful. Stuff's definitely going to get bad, but this is just kind of the story of humanity and life in general. It's always some type of struggle, but hopefully we can do better as time goes on. Just real quickly, I want to say it seems like the 2020s are going to be a decade of strife and loss and chaos and turmoil. And so that'll likely open up the 2030s, to be a decade of rebuilding and structure.
Yeah,
things like that.
I think you're right. One of the things that's not lost on me, as you've said a couple times during the programs today, that the Democrats are in better position than we think to at least recover. But the way I see it is these self-inflicted wounds are rooted in selfishness and undue privilege. Barack Obama gave us Hillary Clinton as a candidate, forced Hillary Clinton upon us, Secretary of State. I'm not even making a judgment as to whether she was qualified, clearly, compared to these people. I'm just saying that when you decide that you know more than the people who put you there. As a party, as an elected official, nothing good can come of that. They'll never term limit themselves, so it's time. Why would, even if Chuck Schumer is the best and brightest this country has ever seen, if he's not,
Yeah.
there's a case to be made that you should step aside before you're really done, because you're not going to live forever and you care more about the republic than you do yourself in power. That's why we're in this predicament. As you try to stomp on this swing, maybe it's progressives over here. A bright young mind, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, they should be championed. Bernie Sanders will tell you he's not going to run for president again. He says that. And he says because I'm too old. That ship has sailed. So it's so disheartening that you want to take the moral high ground. You want to be looked at as the party of the working and this and that. But when it comes time to doing what you should be doing, you're forcing candidates upon us, you're rigging rules. Back then, what happened then gave us today. I firmly believe that. It gave us today. You need new energy. You need new ideas. I knew that in the newsroom. I dealt with people as a young journalist that were horrible to me. And I always vowed, well, I wouldn't be afraid of a young journalist. I would mentor them and champion them. Why not? It's only going to make you better. They don't seem to work like that, Capitol Hill. Power, money, lobbying.
If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week with Francesca Fiorentini, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.